What's up, SC Nation? Last week I talked about how being an introvert hurt my career. This week I'm going to talk about the opposite, how being an introvert has helped my career. Now, this is just about me personally. Other introverts may see other things, other extroverts may see the same things I'm seeing as an introvert. I'm just saying this is my experience. And hopefully it will help somebody out there who might be going through the same things. So let's just dig in. Before we get started, it would be good to discuss what are the qualities of introverts. And I took this off of WebMD, but this is the list. So that's the list. Some of them seem negative, but I see them frankly as positive. So let's dissect it a little bit. 1. Need quiet to concentrate. So I've never actually had that problem. I actually hated working out of libraries because they were too quiet.
Where are you from, originally?
Especially out of when I was in university. Right now, when we worked at Alcatel-Lucent, they were all cubicles, we were all very loud. So it never affected me in the way that they're saying it should affect me, I guess. As a matter of fact, because I preferred loud ones, I would always be able to zone everything out. I like the noise because it helped me focus for some reason. And if the noise got too loud, you can just pop a headphone on and call it a day. You didn't really need quiet. I'm not sure if this is the correct quality of introverts, but it became dangerous for me because even without headphones and I'd zone everything out, I've been told that fights broke out right next to me. I didn't even notice. So the second thing is takes time to make decisions. So again, I don't know how true that is. I don't make rash decisions as a human being. I don't know if it's an introvert again or just me. I don't make decisions out of fear. I don't make decisions that are just rash. I make logical decisions, and when I come to a logical conclusion, I usually make the decision fairly quickly. The process of weighing stuff out might take a long time, but I haven't seen that affect me. I usually make decisions fairly quickly. 3 is don't like to work in groups. Yes, I've always preferred to work alone. I didn't mind working in groups, but I noticed that whenever I was in a group setting, especially back at university, I would do my best to not get out of the group work, but to assign work so that everybody can go back and work on their own or work in that group, but at least I'd be able to leave. That meant I ran very efficient meetings. Even if I didn't run them, I encouraged very efficient meetings just to get out. I did the group work. It wasn't fun for me, but I did very well in those group work. The 4th characteristic I want to briefly mention is preferring to write rather than talk. I would actually change that to prefer to observe rather than communicate. Whether it's writing or talking, they're both annoying if you need to communicate with someone, for an introvert at least. I would rather ask a question than sit back and watch the person think, watch the gears grind in their mind, and then listen to their response. So it wasn't really about the writing versus talking. It's more about putting an effort into thinking about what to communicate with someone versus just sitting back and watching them talk or work. I didn't mind that at all. If I did, I would just walk away too. 5th characteristic is feels tired after being in a crowd. Yep. 6, retreat into their own mind. The word retreat feels negative to me. It sounds like it has a negative connotation. Run away! Run away! Run away! Instead of retreat, I would say I choose to go back and sit with my own thoughts versus being out with people. So that's a positive versus a negative. Now let's talk about how it's helped my career. I mean, I already mentioned my career path and I told my story in last week's video, so if you want to check that out, go ahead. So here I'm just going to focus on how being an introvert specifically has helped me and only me, not anybody else. So nobody get offended, or if you do, like I've said my disclaimer. At this point, that's on you. So here's how it helped. Timing wise, I had a lot of time on my hands because I didn't want to go out, I didn't want to meet people. The time that I would have used to do those things, meeting people, hanging out, I used to work and get better at stuff. I know some people might have used them to work on, like to play games or whatever, I use them to work. I use them to learn. I use them to work on certifications, especially back when I was with Alcatel-Lucent. So it just helped me in that way. And throughout my university career, throughout as a support engineer, network design, even sales engineer, I never had to pull on all-nighter because of that. Because I used the time that I had to actually work. So I always thought that, hey, if you're studying at 1 o'clock in the morning, something new that you've never learned before, you're not going to learn it from 1 to 5 in the morning and then go to the test. I'd always prefer to go to sleep and then wake up the next morning and have the better possibility of actually using my brain to figure some stuff out versus trying to learn it unsuccessfully and then being stupidly sleepy in a test or in a demo. The second way it helped me is being efficient. So I didn't meet with people, which got me time to work on my stuff, but it also allowed me to figure out like which meetings are useful, which meetings are not. I mean, there are some meetings which you think they won't be useful, or you don't know if they will be useful or not, and you attend and they were amazing or they sucked. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking, there are some meetings that you know, this is useless for me. So I used that time again to work on the stuff that I needed to work on my deliverables. If I had a demo, a presentation, instead of going to a meeting and then multitasking because everything's through the web right now and not listening to the meeting and not focusing on doing the presentation properly, I skip the meeting altogether and do the presentation. I'd find an excuse not to go. So the third way it's helped me is by understanding people. I've never wanted to be the center of attention, which is weird considering I have a podcast and a YouTube channel, but my goal was never to be the center of attention. Even now, when I'm doing this, I'm not doing this to be the center of attention. I'm doing this to get people to think, but that's a different story. I'm more than happy, as I mentioned earlier, to just ask questions, sit back and listen to the responses. I like to look at their body language. Where are their eyes going when they're trying to answer a difficult question? How are they processing that information? I feel like I learn a lot more from that than sometimes the actual answers. From the pause between me asking the question to them answering the question, it has so much information in it. And I love that part. And it also allowed me to understand a lot of my customers better as a sales engineer and as a solution specialist. It's allowed me to understand them a lot better. To understand, like, if this person is having a bad day, how can I help them change it? There's one person who, if they're having a bad day, I just ask them about RVing. What was the latest trip they went? What's the next trip they're going to? And they light up and they just start talking about RVing and they start feeling better. And they open up to me a little bit more because now they're not just pissed off at the world for some reason that I had nothing to do with. It just made life easier for both them and myself. This has also helped me with my podcasts. One of the greatest compliments that I continuously receive is me not trying to take the spotlight away from the guest. Don't get me wrong, I have my own thoughts that I can share during an interview. We can have a discussion, I can push back, but the spotlight is always on them, not me. The fourth way it's helped me is focus on quality. One of the characteristics was have less friends but develop good friendships or deep friendships with those, and that seems fairly accurate to me. I always focus on the quality of the relationship, not the quantity. I mentioned last time that if I'm in a group of 20 people, I try to talk to 1 or 2 people and learn from them and learn about them. And when I develop these deep relationships with them, I can count on these customers, if you will, to give it to me straight. If we're leading in a deal, or if we're lagging behind, or if we need a feature to close the deal, or if we're gonna close the deal no matter what. These are all information that they would share with me because I have a deep relationship with them. And they know that I will share with them. If we're not a good fit for them, I will 100% tell them. If they need my help with something after the sale, they know I will be there for them. It's not a transactional thing for me. So I've built that relationship, I've built that trust between myself and my customers, which allow them to open up to me, and they know that I will do whatever it takes to support them going on and going forward. And the fifth way, and the final way I'm going to discuss, is being self-aware and self-reflective. I had Darren Mason on the show early on in the podcast life. I think it was one of the first like 20, 30 shows. I used to ask the question, what is the greatest quality of a successful sales engineer? And he said self-awareness. WebMD mentioned introverts are self-aware and reflective. For me, it's the same thing. You can't be self-aware without being reflective. Since introverts spend a lot of time on their own, we have time to think about the things that are going on. And we have time to think about our favorite topic, which is ourselves. That has benefited me greatly. When I first started my career as a sales engineer, I was successful. We were doing the spray and pray methodology. And we were doing great. I felt there was something wrong. I felt like I was missing something because I was self-reflective. I mean, I always asked the question like, why did they just buy? And I could never answer that question. So when we got the feedback that on that fateful day that actually started my path towards starting the podcast, where they said, the VP of sales said, Ramsey, you didn't do discovery. And I didn't know what discovery was. I didn't feel annoyed. I didn't feel sad. I felt actually happy and relieved that now I know what I have been doing wrong. And it wasn't a surprise for me because I've been reflecting on that for a while. I was aware that I'm missing something. On the other hand, my salesperson, who's an extreme extrovert, like on the other end of the spectrum of any introvert, he got defensive. He tried to throw me under the bus. Now, I'm not saying he did that because he's an extrovert. He very well could have did that because he's a... But in his mind, he was the best thing since sliced bread because he was not self-reflective at all. So again, I don't know if this is all introverts. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if all extroverts are like that. I'm 100% certain not all extroverts are like my salesperson, who was a unique, acquired taste, who I had a hard time acquiring. And there are probably a lot of extroverts out there that have some of these qualities of being self-aware, being reflective, focusing on quality over quantity, and still being able to hang out with a lot of people at the same time. I'm sure they're out there. If you're an extrovert who wants to share their challenges and the reasons why they're successful because they're an extrovert, please let me know. I'm happy to have a discussion with you and have you on my YouTube channel where we can have that discussion and just chat. So these are the reasons I've been successful as an introvert. Now, if you're looking for some additional help, you want to up your game, up your skill level as a sales engineer or an aspiring sales engineer, check out the SE hotline, which is part of WeTheSalesEngineers.com. That's a service meant to help you on your journey to be the best SE you can be. And if you have any questions, please let me know. But beyond that, that's the end of the video. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time. Peace out.